Have you ever felt trapped in a cycle of tormenting thoughts, questioning the true meaning of life? If I told you that Dostoevsky's genius lies in a surprising philosophy of life, being a fool, this video explores how this Russian writer, who lived between success and tragedy, teaches us that true wisdom may come from accepting our ignorance and vulnerability. Fyodor Dostoevsky was 25 when he published his first novel, Poor Folk, in 1846. 3 years later, at 28, he was sentenced to death in 1849. A last-minute pardon from the Tsar saved him, but he spent 10 years in Siberia, mostly in forced labor. He published Crime and Punishment in 1866 at 45, followed by a severe gambling addiction. In 1879, he published his masterpiece, The Brothers Karamazov, and died shortly after in 1881 at 59. He suffered from epilepsy throughout his life, wrote 12 novels, 4 novellas, and 16 short stories, and is considered one of Russia's greatest writers alongside Tolstoy, Chekhov, and Turgenev. Unlike them, he experienced life from its lowest to its highest points. His novel Notes from Underground is seen as the first existentialist novel, influencing writers like Albert Camus, Franz Kafka, and even Sigmund Freud. Besides being a top novelist, he studied as a major 19th century philosopher. While Tolstoy was a historian and sociologist, Dostoevsky was a psychologist and archaeologist of human existential suffering. He greatly influenced German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Albert Einstein said, "Dostoevsky gives me more than any scientist." What can we learn from him? This video shares 8 lessons from Dostoevsky, 5 writing or storytelling tips, and explores whether he was religious. Dostoevsky was born in 1821, exactly 203 years ago. Let's begin. Lesson 1. You don't know yourself. Man is a mystery. I am studying that mystery because I want to be human. In Crime and Punishment, the protagonist, Raskolnikov, is full of contradictions. He doesn't know what he wants or why he commits murders. At first, he aims to escape poverty, but then talks about achieving greatness like Napoleon or proving he's extraordinary. Maybe it was sheer madness. Before the murders, his mind is clear, but afterward, he struggles internally over whether to confess. If he knew himself better, he wouldn't have killed. Self-knowledge is hard in a fast-moving world where we rarely pause to reflect. We feel like part of a school of fish, making it tough to understand our deepest motivations. Doubting ourselves can prevent suffering caused by our actions. If Raskolnikov knew himself, he would have sought help before killing. Lesson 2. Don't dream too big. The world says you have needs, satisfy them. You have as much right as the rich and powerful. Don't hesitate to satisfy your needs. Expand them and demand more. This is the doctrine of today, and they believe it's freedom. The result for the rich is isolation and suicide. For the poor, envy and murder. We live in a world where value is measured by money, fame, and power, much like 19th century Russia. The pressure to succeed, to be rich, famous, or powerful is huge. We take bigger risks to achieve our dreams. We ask kids about their dreams, but rarely what makes them happy. Capitalism demands success at our expense. Dostoevsky portrays the modern dreamer in Raskolnikov, who believes everything is possible and feels a duty to make it happen. Dreams are good, but they can become nightmares. Dostoevsky warns that no matter how successful you become, you may never be happy and might suffer more. Lesson 3. Suffering is necessary. Pain and suffering are always inevitable for a great intelligence and a deep heart. Dostoevsky's pardon and 10 years of forced labor in Siberia, followed by gambling addiction and epilepsy, gave him a deep view of suffering. In Notes from Underground, the nameless protagonist realizes our suffering comes from believing we deserve better. We dream of a society or time when everyone is happy, but this idealism meets harsh reality, whether from a partner, society, or even God or nature. This sparks anger and resentment, and in trying to eliminate suffering, we cause more. Love and hate, pleasure and pain are intertwined. Suffering is necessary to appreciate happiness. Man is a creature that can get used to anything, and I think that's the best definition of him. Lesson 4. Rationality doesn't make us happy. Let's not forget that the causes of human actions are usually immeasurably varied, and our later explanations of them The scientific revolution from the 15th century led to rationality becoming a moral doctrine for 17th century Enlightenment philosophers like Kant, Voltaire, and Rousseau, who saw it as a replacement for God and the solution to human problems. But Dostoevsky argued humans are irrational, and reason alone can't solve everything. Our anxiety today partly comes from being expected to be rational all the time. Emotions, not calculations, drive most of our happiness or sadness. Falling in love or friendships aren't always rational. Dostoevsky was the first to question rationality-driven modernity. Nietzsche, who criticized rationality, said Dostoevsky was the only psychologist who taught him anything. Happiness is a byproduct of what you do, not a goal. What matters is life, nothing but life. The process of discovering, the eternal process, not the discovery itself. Lesson 5. Try to be a fool. The most intelligent of all, in my opinion, is the man who calls himself a fool at least once a month. Dostoevsky believed consciousness was a disease of the mind. Our self-awareness makes us question our existence. Why am I here? What's my purpose? Without clear answers, we develop anxiety and depression, especially among intelligent people. The more you know, the more miserable you feel. Being a fool for Dostoevsky means being innocent. In his favorite novel, The Idiot, the simple, kind-hearted protagonist is seen as a fool. Too much self-examination, as Socrates promoted, can lead to madness. Dostoevsky says to live life, not overthink its meaning or others' judgments. Lesson 6. We have both good and evil in us. Nothing is easier than to denounce the evildoer. Nothing is harder than to understand him. Dostoevsky challenged labeling people as purely good or evil. Everyone has both sides. Raskolnikov, despite his terrible act, is a good man deep down. Sonia, a prostitute shunned by society, has a kind heart. We sympathize with Raskolnikov because we see ourselves in his desires, fears, and self-loathing. We tend to see people in black and white terms, but Dostoevsky shows humans are complex. No matter how good we think we are, we're also flawed. After his first novel's success, Dostoevsky became radicalized, leading to his arrest and 10 years of labor. Later, after Crime and Punishment, he became a gambling addict. Humans are neither fully good nor evil, but both. Lesson 7. Take individual responsibility. If you want to be respected by others, the most important thing is to respect yourself. Only through self-respect can you compel others to respect you. Existentialist philosophers like Nietzsche and Camus were drawn to Dostoevsky because he challenges us to take responsibility for our actions. Unlike ordinary people, many intellectuals avoid responsibility. Raskolnikov, an intellectual, rationalizes his crime and struggles to accept responsibility until Sonia helps him. Through responsibility, we find purpose. No one can guide you to it. Dostoevsky presents ideas and philosophies, urging us to find our own path. Today, we often blame others for our misfortunes. Jordan Peterson says to clean your room before blaming society. Dostoevsky says, if you want to overcome the whole world, overcome yourself. Lesson 8. See beauty in people when it's not obvious. Judge people not by what they are, but by what they strive to become. Dostoevsky's time in a labor camp among ordinary people shaped his understanding. Before Siberia, he fought for the poor without knowing them. After years with them, he saw religion was vital to the poor and uneducated. There was beauty in their honesty and acceptance of guilt. Intellectuals, however, rationalized their actions to avoid responsibility. Dostoevsky found truth at society's bottom and hypocrisy at the top. Don't judge people by their social status, but by what they aim to become. 5 storytelling or writing tips from Dostoevsky. Creativity is an integral, organic property of human nature. It's a necessary accessory of the human spirit, as legitimate as 2 hands, 2 legs, or a stomach. 1. Be honest and don't shy away from the ugly. Dostoevsky's novels focus on human struggles, not happiness. Like an archaeologist, he dug into the human psyche to understand what drives us. His themes, guilt, existential anxiety, fear of death, are timeless, making his work still relevant. People are most honest when at their lowest, vulnerable, and sincere. Dostoevsky wrote with extreme honesty. 2. Capture characters at their worst, darkest moments. In Notes from Underground or Crime and Punishment, we see people at their lowest, facing nightmares or irrational dreams. In The Brothers Karamazov, four brothers deal with their father's murder. These crises came from Dostoevsky's own near execution and harsh Siberian years. Put characters in their most feared situations and tell their story. 3. Blend multiple genres, voices, and ideologies. Dostoevsky excelled at scenes where people with clashing worldviews meet. Put three enemies in a room and capture their distinct voices and beliefs. He used lowbrow genres like thrillers and adventures to tell profound psychological and philosophical stories, blending comedy and social critique. Focus on the story, not the genre. 4. Understand human duality, madness, and irrationality. Humans have both good and evil. To enrich your writing, let good characters do bad things and villains do good. Dostoevsky, a novelist and psychoanalyst, explored human demons. He captured the 19th century mood of a godless world, where people, like children without parents, make mistakes and face consequences. His novels are chaotic, with freely flowing prose. 5. Fear no one, not even yourself. Dostoevsky's writing was bold. He faced trouble twice, nearly executed and later imprisoned, but stayed true to his vision. Self-censorship was worse to him. He wrote about dark characters because he understood his own darkness, which can be therapeutic. Was Dostoevsky religious? I think he was both. Dostoevsky criticized modernity, arguing that the Enlightenment's human-centered morality offered no convincing alternative to God and religion. Science didn't answer questions about life's meaning or happiness. Religion, though old and crude compared to science, gave millions of Russians psychological comfort that science couldn't. This was 200 years ago in Russia, where survival was key. Science improved life through medicine and technology, but failed to provide meaning. In his novels, religion clashes with Western modernity, and Dostoevsky doesn't fully side with either. He was ambivalent toward both, unsatisfied by either. His final message was to be good, kind, and honest, with a heart free of social or self-deception. Conclusion. Exploring Dostoevsky's life and works reminds us we're all a mix of light and shadow, wisdom and folly. He teaches that true wisdom may come from simplicity, suffering can deepen our understanding, and the relentless search for meaning makes us human. By embracing our contradictions and imperfections, we get closer to the human experience. Instead of fearing weaknesses, embrace them. They hold valuable lessons. Be a fool sometimes, suffer, and live fully. As Dostoevsky reminds us, life's beauty lies in its pains as much as its joys. Thanks for watching, and until the next video.